Hey there warriors, I created for you 5 different Next.js projects, and in each one of these I installed 5 amazing UI libraries. I'm going to show you how the components look, how hard was the implementation, and also we are going to talk a little bit about the pros and cons of each library. And in the end, we are going to mention one special library that is not that popular. Without further ado, let's roll! Chakra UI is pretty intuitive and you can move really fast when you're building your front-end application. The implementation is really simple. You just go to the Getting Started with Next.js app, install all the dependencies, and then create the provider inside your Next.js application. So I can show you that one here. Inside my providers component, I have the Chakra provider. And then inside the layout, I just wrap children here. And now you can start importing your components. So we can close this one, and now in the components page, we can go to accordion. That's the first component that I implemented on this project. I can just take this whole block and copy paste it. In my case, I pasted it on the index page. So it's this block of code, which is copy pasted from the Chakra UI documentation. And the result? You get this neat looking accordion component, which is really simple, which is a good thing because we need the flexible enough component to meet our design needs. So we can easily change the colors or put anything we want inside this accordion component. Next components are progress bar and circular progress bar. So why I chose to show you these components from Chakra is because they have one main difference between other libraries that I'm going to show you. And in my opinion, that is a flaw in Chakra UI. So if we check here, progress component, it has the color scheme green. And that's the thing I needed to do to change the color of my component. So if I delete that one, we're going to have the default blue from Chakra. And what I cannot do is I cannot go to the class name and I cannot use the Tailwind class that I want to change the progress bar color. And when you ask anybody about what is wrong with Chakra UI, this is the main thing they're going to tell you, that theming is really hard when you use Chakra UI, because if you have a theme in your Tailwind configuration, then it will not affect your Chakra UI components like this. So next thing, we have a couple of avatars. I just wanted to show you how cool they look. And the last component is the stepper. And this is the one that is really great from Chakra. I don't think that any other library has this component. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. So this is something that I'm often building manually in my projects. So we are currently on step 1, and we can go to the step 2, and then step 1 is like checked. Then we can go to the step 3, and then the second step is checked. And this is really a cool thing that you don't need to build this from scratch, but you can just implement the component. I can show you quickly how it looks. So it's called the stepper component. Here it is. I implemented just a simple state for the index to set which step is currently active, and it's pretty easy to implement it. Chakra UI is an amazing library. All components are looking beautiful and neat. The implementation is pretty fast, and also you can copy the components and paste them really fast inside your project. Only bad thing is if you have themes in your project, then maybe Chakra UI is not the good option for you. This library is one of my favorites, and just look at this background. It's so awesome and it is so easy to implement. This is how it works. You go to their website and there you already have on the index page some amazing components. And you go to the browse components, and here I'm going to showcase you quickly a couple of components. So this one, for example, and they're already saying it, it's built only with Tailwind CSS, which is really amazing. And look how cool it is. It looks really awesome. And there is a bunch more of components like this. So if we go back, you can see, look at this one, for example, tracing beam. So when I'm scrolling down, this tracing beam is following me through the page. And let me show you now the implementation of the Aurora background that I used here on my Next.js project. So it is so simple to implement this one. You just do this, so you install the dependencies, and it's only 3 of them. You add the util file, the cnts, which is, you have this by default with shadcn, for example, and then you modify the Tailwind config so you can have all the animations and keyframes and whatever this animation needs. And then you just copy and paste your entire component inside your project. So here, if we go to Aurora background, I just copy pasted this entire code, and inside my layout file, no, this is the lamp, sorry, layout file, I placed the Aurora background wrapper around the children, and that's the only thing I did to implement this cool looking background that can really make your website look powerful and convincing for something like a portfolio or something like that. And the other component I wanted to show you is the lamp. So this one was exactly the same thing. So I installed completely the same dependencies and just copy pasted the component and placed it here inside my lamp page. This is it, nothing else. If you're interested more in this one, just go to the documentation and check all the components they have, and you are definitely going to find something interesting here. Eternity UI is an awesome library. The components look really amazing, and also the implementation is so fast, it's literally like copy pasting the code with a little bit of dependencies. The only bad thing about Eternity is that it's not a typical UI library where you have simple buttons, simple badges, or popovers or things like that. So it's only good if you're going to mix it with something else. So you can use, for example, Chakra, and then just inject 1 or 2 components from Eternity UI to make your website look amazing. The champion of all UI libraries and my personal favorite, shadcn. So what is so special about shadcn, especially now on this date when they implemented a completely new feature which placed them above all other UI libraries? The biggest thing is that you are taking the component inside your project and you can modify it according to your needs. So this button, for example, I have it inside my code. So if we go to my button component, this is the entire code that is copy pasted from shadcn. And you can change the color, the size, you can add props, you can change the props, you can do whatever you want. So this is basically your code now inside your project. And the implementation? Super easy. Check this out. You go to the Get Started, and here you can go to the installation. You can choose whatever you are using from here. Next.js is my example, and you just do this. And this one is doing bunch of things. So everything that we did, for example, in the Eternity UI, it is going to automatically create the CN file that we had in Eternity. It will change the Tailwind config. It will change everything according to our needs so we can use the shadcn. And then you can just, you can change, this is just for the font. And after that, you can just install the button, for example. You can install whatever you want from the components page here on the shadcn documentation. So we can choose the calendar, for example, which I placed here, and we have the calendar component inside our project. Again, we can change it to whatever we like. We can add new Tailwind classes. We can do whatever we want. And it's completely viable. And again, we have the simple looking component, which is good, like we said in the beginning, because it is flexible enough so we can change it to whatever we like. If we have some color theme or whatever we need, we can make it big, small, or whatever. We can just change it and it will suit our needs. And look at this new feature that they implemented just a week ago. There is a new page called blocks, and here you have a bunch of components that are really reusable. I mean, when I say reusable, these are probably used on 90% of projects, real projects, where you have some admin panel or something like that. And here you have the toggle lift mode. When I click that one, you can just hover your mouse over the component and you have copy code for this exact component. And how it works, you copy the code here inside. I just create the new component here inside my UI folder, and I'm going to call it money because there is some money displayed there, and I just copy paste it from here. So I copy the code and paste it here. So now we have the exact looking component. Only thing that we are missing is the card and progress. That one is also coming from ShadCN. So we are easily going to add that one. We just go to the components, we go to the card, which we are missing, and then I just run this install card here. And the other one is progress. So I install the progress also. I just run this whole command. And now we shouldn't have this error anymore. There it is. And we can just implement it inside our page. So I can put here our money component, and that one is going to come from here, from the UI money file, but we didn't call it money yet. Yes, so like this, and I'm going to remove default because I'm calling it in the same way like here. And now we have the exact component like here without, so we go to the blocks. We have exactly the same component without any like coding or anything. We just copy pasted the entire code block and it is working. I know this is a small component. It doesn't look very like spectacular, but check this out. We can copy this entire component and have it like in the same moment available for our admin page, for example. And the last component I implemented here was drawer. I just wanted to show you how cool it looks and how easy it is to implement something like this. So that one is here also on our page as the drawer. Here it is. So we just have a wrapper drawer and we have the trigger, which can be a button or whatever you want. And you just open the drawer and that's it. Nothing else. You just use this component, which is again, I say, inside your project, and you can change it to whatever you like. ShadCN is currently the best library there is for web development. You can build whatever application you can imagine with this UI library. Implementation is more than intuitive, especially now with this new lift mode where you can just lift the component and just place it inside your web application just like that. So basically ShadCN doesn't have any weaknesses, and I think it's currently the best UI library out there. Mentine is a nice looking library which is specialized in light and dark mode components. So each of their components is working really nice in dark mode and light mode also. They have some really good options for implementation where you can literally just take the Next.js template or whatever you're using and you automatically have already installed Mentine with Jest and Storybook and everything you're going to need to create your UI components. So this is exactly the thing that I used to create my Next.js template and get this welcome page by Mentine. So let's check out their components. I'm going to go back to the index page and here we have our input components and they look pretty neat, and there is also a color input and that one also looks nice. Also there are date pickers. I would say this range calendar is a pretty rare thing to have in the UI library. Usually there is only a calendar which you can click, but not the range calendar. And then in the overlays and navigation, I know I said in Chakra UI, I think there is no stepper component, but Mantine also has a stepper component, which looks pretty awesome. And we have the content. This one also, the timeline, looks really nice. Rich text editor and carousel. So basically all the components looks nice and neat, and the main thing is that they're all supporting the dark mode. So we can now check how all of these components look in dark mode, and they look really awesome. You have a bit of flexibility here on Mantine. It's not exactly like the shed CN. You're still calling the components out of the library, so you don't possess the code exactly like in shed CN, but still it's adjustable and you can change the colors and you can change it according to your design needs. Mantine is good because it's not built to be rigid. Those are simple components that you can use in like some simple web applications. Implementation is pretty fast, and if you're starting from scratch, even better because you can just take the template and start over together with Mantine, Jest, Storybook, and you are good to go. I think that all old developers, like myself, remember Bootstrap. It was the most famous UI library probably 8 or 9 years ago. I remember when Laravel 4 was a thing and we all used Bootstrap to have its grid system of 12 columns to have the responsive front end. I gotta admit, I spent more time than expected to implement Bootstrap inside Next.js, so I installed the Bootstrap dependency and then I had to go to my global CSS and delete everything from here. And then I went to my layout and imported the Bootstrap CSS file from the Bootstrap. And then on my page, I still have a little bit of problems, like this one, for example, that some things are incompatible and I have ESLint errors and I didn't fix them all. And all the Bootstrap things that I copied were with the class and not class names, like you need to put inside React. But in the end, I managed to implement it, and this is what we have. So I implemented the badge, all the buttons, some progress bars, some loading GIFs, and some accordion item, and it still has that same look like it did like 10 years ago. And I still like the way how they handled the components inside Bootstrap. You're not going here and copy pasting the components or importing them through the Bootstrap dependency, but you're just changing here inside the native button, for example, you're just putting the button and button primary class, and that is making that button be a Bootstrap button. There is also the Bootstrap library, which works like all the other UI libraries, but this standard version of Bootstrap, it's still good enough to be used on modern projects. Only thing I would say is that these components look pretty old, especially for me because I worked on them like I said 10 years ago, and the design didn't change much and it's not really flexible like all other UI libraries. I mean, of course you can change the color, you can change the size and everything, but you still, with the default buttons and everything, you still get the old looking design from Bootstrap, which is really not that nice anymore in the modern web development. I love Bootstrap and I really liked working with it, but comparing to other UI libraries, it's just not modern enough. The implementation was pretty slow and it's not done yet. I have a bunch of ESLint errors and the components are really not looking good enough for modern web applications. And the bonus one is the cool looking Windows 95 classic components. Look how cool this looks. Imagine like the entire website built on these components. And I know this is not perfect. I only managed to do this in like 10-15 minutes because the implementation was not that easy that I thought it would be. But it was not that hard also. And look at their webpage, it looks really cool. And look at this calendar classic component. It looks really nice. So how you can install this one, you go to their GitHub, and there, the React 95 repository, you just go here and add these dependencies. And after that, you just use the theme provider and wrap your children again. Let me show you that one in code. So here I wrapped everything inside my page. I use the theme provider, and this is the menu list that you saw here, this one. And I implemented also all the button components and the checkbox component. And why did I say that implementation was not that easy? Because check my terminal, it has bunch of errors because of some wrong props and bunch of stuff. But if I would invest some time into this, I would probably fix everything and it would look cool. Pretty awesome library to impress someone. You can create entire web page like in some classic style, and all people would be probably amazed by that page. I hope you enjoyed this one, warriors. Tell me in the comments below if you would like me to review another UI library. These are the 5 that I use the most, and I used another one called Material UI. It's probably worth mentioning also. It's an awesome library. UI libraries are becoming really popular. There is probably one UI library coming out each day. For now, I think Shadcn is on top because they invented this new way of bringing their components inside your project. Don't forget to subscribe, warriors. If you like this content, like, share, and subscribe to help me bring you more awesome videos like this one.